EA.
Look at it.
Bruh.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of our Fallout 76 series. Two heroes beat the game, no death, and how they did it, episode 3. I'm joined once again by my good friend Connor. And what are we covering in this episode, Connor?
Well, in today's episode, we'll be presenting a rough guide of where you should go and what you should be doing from roughly levels 20 to 40. We'll be talking about obtaining your first suit of power armour.
You throw another moon at me, and I'm gonna lose it.
What new perk cards you should get, what to do with legendary weapons, as well as exploring player vendors and what you guys should be buying at this stage in the game.
Oh, and of course, today's edition of 5 Things to Watch Out For.
And then also your cap creation tip of the day.
Oh yeah. Jesus, lots to cover today then. So, let's jump straight into it, I guess, and continue where we left off, at the Charleston Fire Department.
So just give us the broad overview, Euan. What is the general plan for the route?
Well, the short answer would be Ash Heap until we obtain the excavator power armour, then into Grafton, doing everything there, and then by that point you should be at level 40, there or thereabouts.
So how do we go about getting the excavator set? Well, by the end of the last episode, you should be roughly level 20, and in order to wear excavator power armour, you need to be level 25. Just short. But this is no accident, folks. These 5 levels are designed for maximum farming efficiency. We need the stuff to make excavator power armour, and if you watched the previous episode, you'll know how to make it and should have already started picking up some of the materials for it on your travels.
So let's say you've had a pretty average run through so far. Well, as average as it can be for the Fallout 76 no death. And you've gotten most of the easier materials to make, such as glass, rubber, maybe gears or oil, but the more difficult materials, such as black titanium, nuclear material, and even things in bulk like screws and springs, is feeling out of reach. Well, that's why we've designed this farming route, so that you're able to get everything you need in a fairly short time before reaching that sweet level 25 and sliding straight into your power armor.
So the next question you probably ask yourselves is, where do I go to get these items? Well, we have 4 rather good locations, although one is slightly risky at this stage in the game, and each location, as you would expect, excels in different loot. The first one to talk about, and this should hopefully deal with your screw and spring problem, is the Charleston Capitol building. Typewriters and clipboards are the main priority, and you're in little to no danger here. And in fact, once you're done there, you could even head over to the Charleston Herald building for the same 2 things, only at a slightly higher difficulty.
Now, the next 3 locations we've got for you guys are all mainly covering the same material, black titanium. And why is that? Well, there's no doubt it's the material you've gathered the least amount of, and we'll need 32 pieces to make the set, so the majority of our time in these 5 levels will be devoted to gathering the stuff. But more importantly, how do we get black titanium? There's 2 ways to go about it, the right way and the wrong way. The right way is to kill more miners and scrap down the miner suit scrap from their corpses. The drop rates are fairly high, and you can also get other things you need to make the full set in the process, such as rubber, screws, or springs. The other way, the wrong way, or at least at this stage of the game, is by extracting black titanium ore from the ground and turning it into the finished product. It's wrong because it will burn through your acid supply if you even had much to begin with, and it just adds a whole other process that will slow you down and bore you completely. So, where are these 3 locations? Some of you will already know the 3 we're talking about, or at least 2. We're talking, of course, about Mount Blair Train Yard, Welch, and the Blackwater Mine. Each place is crawling with miners.
And I love miners.
And the black titanium you can get here is insane. So you'll soon reach your target. The difficulty is manageable in Welch and the Mount Blair train yard, but if you're going to the Blackwater mine, especially at this stage in the game, things could get messy. If you guys think you're up to the difficulty of that place, then go ahead, but it feels only right to warn you after our experience with that place.
Oh boy, our experience with that place. A pretty close experience on my no-death run, Euan. And this was the one where we made it as well. We went with a pretty simple plan. I would stay on the rocks above, providing recon and cover fire to Euan, who was on the ground, taking them up close. When we pulled up with literal RPGs, Euan evacuated back to the rocks, and I would do everything I could to help him. That worked well. Until we went inside and we were met by even more demolition masters. We had to play it so tactically, but even at our most tactical, we were still getting damage in on us. Euan got slightly caught in one of the blasts, but even that took about half his health. This one glowing mole miner I can always remember, 3 times our level, RPG in hand and furiously determined to kill us. He even managed to push us back to the outside of the mine, and did he stop there? No. This unit went through a loading screen door and followed us all the way out of the area. I mean, a loading screen door? Seriously? I'd only ever seen one enemy in video games I've played ever do that, and that's Mr. X. When we finally lost this guy, we had 2 choices. Admit defeat, cut our losses and move on, but the decision we made was far better. We thought it was doable to kill this thing, and you even said yourself, Euan, that we hadn't fully tested our limits with this guy, or something like that, so we made an argument where we would have one final attempt at this guy, and if it turned out we were doing no damage, we would bail and call it quits. We decided that our best chances with this guy was to use our most high damage attack a couple level 20s could get their hands on, missile launchers, with a little bit of sneak attack damage also. And just like that, we became the musketeer men. Ready, aim, fire. Ready, aim, fire 3 times over. The first rally connected on both our ends, and we were feeling pretty confident with the damage. The second rally, Christ, there we were. Final rally, 2 rockets left. Go big or go home. Euan's connects, and it's all up to me. And of course I hit mine too. Did you expect anything less?
After our second rally, I didn't know what to expect. So, long story short, avoid that place and stick to the other 2. Unless you think you're him.
And him.
Now, we might get some folks wondering, where's the guide to find the nuclear material?
And what would we tell those folks, Euan?
Well, we'd tell them to cry.
You need Jesus, man.
You only need like 6 nuclear waste each, and you can find it in board games. So, our advice if you're really stuck, how about you go and think like a board game? If I was a board game, where would I hide type nonsense? And I'm sure you'll find them. Most likely in houses, as that is in fact where most would hide. Anyway, by this point you should have all the materials you need to make the excavator power armour, and if you're level 25 and above, it's time for the Garahan mining headquarters. I can't lie, this place is pretty well guarded, with a sentry bot outside, and the chances to encounter an assault run inside too, as well as the armada of robots and piles of cars that engulf this place. If you can survive all that, then the set is basically yours. You can get the plans on the terminal down there, and there are power armor stations down there too. A couple things that we forgot to mention though. This one's obvious, but you'll need a power armor chassis of your own in order to build the armor. The other thing you'll need, aside from a fusion core, is the quest Minor Miracles, which can be activated by clicking this drippy poster that's found all over the Ash Heap. Best place for it is probably the Rusty Pick, even just to get that as a fast travel location for later. You can find this place just a little further up the hill from the Charleston Fire Department, and that's it. You've obtained your first set of power armour on a no-death run. Give yourself a pat on the back. Hardly anyone makes it this far. But now that you have, you're some tanky guys, able to take on whatever Todd throws at you. So, don't stop now. Persevere, adapt, and above all else make sure to...
We interrupt this episode to once again deliver another edition of 5 things to watch out for in Fallout 76. There's lots to cover today, so I felt it best just to get this segment off my chest early. So what is today's 5 things to watch out for? Well, I'll tell you, and this is in no particular order, by the way. The first thing on the list is speed. No guys, wait, I know what you're thinking, I've got other ideas, I swear. But why did we include speed when it's not an actual in-game enemy, boss, or area? Well, the reason being is speed can sometimes be the most deadly thing you and your teammate will encounter. And what do we mean by speed? Now, we're not talking about character stats or how fast you can run. We're really talking about how fast you progress through the game. Some people, myself and Euan included, take the game too fast and end up dying because of it. The thing with this run in particular is that it's not a sprint, but instead a marathon, and in this case a marathon of pain and difficulty. Our advice? Slow it down. Take every area and enemy with caution and care. Prepare yourself before progressing. When a person thinks we're safe, it's usually when we're most vulnerable.
Very true. Now, second on today's list, and it's no real surprise at all, is the Assault Draw. It's quick, it's agile, it's surprisingly durable, and packs a real punch. Escaping the Assault Draw is sometimes a task harder than killing it. It's talked about a lot, but it is definitely one of, if not the most dangerous enemy in the game. And that really is justified by one critical aspect: its laser beam attack. The strongest attack in the game. The duration is long, and the damage is ridiculously high. Nobody can tank the full blast unless maybe if you spammed about 20 stim packs and with the best damage reduction possible. Even now, when we leave our fortress and go out into the wasteland again, we get so nervous when we hear one. Oh, and did we forget to mention the robot has cloaking abilities, making them nearly invisible? I can remember you experiencing this, Connor. This was on your solo run, and when you encountered one of these robots using this, you genuinely thought it was a bugged Assaultron. I mean, that's when you know it's a powerful enemy. So, what is our advice for this thing? Avoid it. Is a bit of a cop-out answer. Sometimes you will need to fight these things, and when that time comes, we have 2 real strategies for it. The first one. Make sure cover is within an arm's reach, and constantly be on the move with this thing. So what if it pushes you back a few feet? Better that than a few hours. The second strategy is to get up close and personal with them, and hope that it does the melee attack, which is easier to survive. We did this the most. The only downside is it has about a 20% chance to still do the laser attack, in which case... We have also heard that breaking its legs will really limit the robot's capabilities, but that is easier said than done.
Yeah, that would only really work well if you were doing a VATS build or something like that. Anyway, coming in at number 3 we have mole miners. A bit of a weird one, as we've already discussed them so much in this episode, so I'll keep it brief. They're fairly fast and do a lot of damage. They always come in groups, and that missile launcher, oh boy. Our advice for them, at the start of the game, pick them off one by one, preferably from afar, although once you get your power armour, they fall off.
For number 4, we've went for another concept, and this one is very interesting. We went for theft. And this is never talked about by the Fallout community because it hardly ever happens, but what folks seem to forget is Fallout 76 is an online game. And with online games you get these types of people. Now, they absolutely love to grief, kill, steal, whatever it takes to fill that void of depression and loneliness that is constant in their lives. You see, the most deadly thing in the game is not the assault drone, it's the players. They're so deadly because you can't as easily predict what a player is going to do. They could do anything, from firing a fat man at you to stripping naked and gifting you their whole inventory. Normally it's the latter group of players that you have to deal with, but you will get some griefers too. If a player does steal from you, say take your purified water supply, picklock one of your doors, they'll get a bounty on their head and become very visible on the map to players. That player will then be hunted and killed at unbelievable speeds. I know because I've done it before. I've stole somebody's purified water. And I didn't think there'd be any consequences. And then I get this bounty placed on me, and obviously I'm panicking, saying to Connor, what the f do I even do now? Knowing he had no idea either. So, I went to the only place I thought would be safe, our base. Hid in our bomb shelter thinking it would be safe. And bear in mind, this is our 5th or 6th attempt, and I'm only like level 20 at the time. But out of nowhere, this absolute unit in power armour storms in and pulverises me with his plasma minigun thing. I had no chance. So, don't steal from anybody is the take-home message from that one.
Definitely lead by Euan's words and not his actions. But what happens if someone steals from you? No matter the level, I would not fight back. As tempting as it may be, justice will serve them soon enough. Don't act purely off of emotion. Try and keep a level head. Why would you put yourself in a risky fight for no reason? Whatever they stole, just let it go. It's so minor to your run. We had a guy steal from us on this run not long ago. Isn't that right, Euan?
We did. Stole all the junk from the Electron station. At this point, I'm about level 100, so I could probably take the guy on despite him being at least level 600. But then you stopped me, said it wasn't worth it, and that you were probably right. It was 6 times my level. And that's what you need on this run. Being level-headed. You need to be able to let things go sometimes.
Moving on to number 5, we have an area this time. It's the house beside Welch. The one you need to go to for the Overseer's holotape. And why this place is so deadly? Anybody that's been here multiple times will probably know why. This place is a spawn point for boss type enemies. Now what do we mean by that? Well, every time you go here you have a chance to encounter a legendary boss of some kind. And we've seen loads, Euan?
We certainly have. Legendary Sheep Squatch, Annihilator Sentry Bot Mark II, Legendary Scorch Beast, and the Blue Devil, each one being about level 60 to 75. And for an early game, this is ridiculous. I mean, I get the progression aspect, you come back later, annihilate the bosses, feel good about yourself, yada yada yada. But what throws me off the most is having an early game quest item in that building.
I can remember one of our runs involving that building. We encountered the Blue Devil. First time ever seeing it as well. So we do the classic damage test that we did on the Mole Miner, and this time it didn't even make a dent in its massive health bar, but it was enough to aggravate him. He chased us up the hill until he was met with 2 military soldiers camping out on the top. I don't even think they lasted 2 seconds.
Now, that might be enough to deter most players. But me and Connor are no normal players. We weren't giving up on this quest, and we would get the holotape no matter what. We decided to play a little game of cat and mouse with the Blue Devil. One of us would bait him out, whilst the other snuck in and took the holotape. Repeat that process a second time, and then get out of there. Our advice for this place? Just come back when there's no boss there. Which can happen, by the way. You could just get some ghouls, scorched, or even mole miners, which, as you can imagine, is a much easier time.
And that concludes today's episode of 5 Things to Watch Out For. Now back to the video. How do we go about saying this next part, Euan?
Well, there's no really easy way of saying it. That excavator armour you spent so long getting the materials to make, we want out of it as soon as possible. Now, I'm not saying all that work you did was for nothing. Quite the contrary. Think of your excavator power armour as the base, the foundation, the initial building block. You want to find power armour in the wild and upgrade your armour with these pieces. You can find 4 different sets in the wild, but we're only interested in 3 because they're a straight upgrade. The ones you're looking out for are the T45, T51B and the T60. It's random chance for what pieces spawn on the chases, and it's also random chance, to an extent, for where you find them. But these 3 sets are strong enough to beat the game and endure the cruelty of Fallout 76. Connor used the T45 throughout the full game, and I used a combination of the T51B and T60 towards the end, so this just kind of showcases how good these sets really are.
Having the excavator set is just some extra protection until you get rubber sets anyway, and extra protection is definitely not something you want to pass up. But now that you've got your power armour, it's time to give player camps a visit and be treated to all the luxury that higher level bases have to offer. Exquisite. Marvellous. Amazing. Surf with player vendors too. And what are you looking for at this stage in the game? Well, with the mediocre funds you'll have, try and invest in things like fusion cores, stim packs, and any cheap plans, no matter what they are. But what kind of prices should you buy them at? Well, with fusion cores, the absolute max I would pay for a fully charged one would be 120 caps. Stim packs would be 15, and a plan would be 50. Absolute maximum though, not a cap more at those scroungers. And of course, after your shopping spree, you'll probably be light on caps, so I think it's time for Euan's top tip for making caps in this episode. So take it away, Euan, what have we got today?
Well, I can't lie, Connor. Today's cap creation tip is a little bit later game than you guys might be expecting. But I've got a couple of tips in mind that come even later in the game, so this is just a good one to keep in mind. The tip today is recycling. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you see all that junk that's weighing your stash box down? Stuff like cloth, rubber, plastics. We can make stuff out of that, sell it, and save weight on the stash box. Anything you don't need, sell it. You're literally getting paid to make weight out of your stash box, and then paid to worry less about your weight. Make stuff like level 1 leather chest pieces, or any outfits or apparel that's not from the atomic shop, like the Marine Tactical Helmet, which was a personal favourite of mine. But this trick should keep you topped up in some stressful times. Anyways, back to the route. Connor, what's the plan of action now?
Well, once you've cleaned everything out of the Ash Heap, it's time to head for Grafton, and I've got mixed opinions on this place. It's either too easy or too difficult at times, no in between. The quests you're going to want to do there are the Bureau of Tourism, the Wavy Willard's Missing Child, the daily quest for the Clarksburg shooting attendant, and visit the prison in Crater while you're at it. Once all this is done, it's that dreaded time. But that pain can be put on hold but now for another day.
Before we go though, you guys are probably wanting to know what perks to take for these precious 20 levels, and although we can't advise exactly what to take because you'll all be branching off with different builds, we can advise some pretty general perks that are useful to everyone trying to beat this run. These are Fully Charged, Fireproof, Team Medic, Portable Power, and Light Foot. Slap on these perk cards as well as cards that will suit your build and you should be fine.
In the next episode, we'll be going over levels 40 to 60, exploring the Savage Divide and taking on your first Scorch Beast, as well as another edition of 5 things to watch out for and another strange cap creation tip. But for now, keep surviving, keep thriving, stay safe while driving. This has been No Death Veterans, signing off.
You are some tanky guys, able to take on whatever Todd Howard throws at you. So stop now. Preserve? Fuck! Fuck! Stop now. Don't stop now, Jesus.